If you're thinking about grabbing the exclusive limited edition premium Halloween 2025 hoodie, the link is in the description. It's only available until Halloween, so if you want one, don't wait. Music, I've been with my company for quite a while now. 6 years might not sound like much to some people, but in security work, it feels like a lifetime. You get used to the routines, the protocols, the smell of the buildings you guard. You learn which noises are harmless and which ones should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I had earned a certain level of seniority over the other guards, and I had the training and credentials to prove it. That usually meant I got to pick the shifts I liked, mornings or evenings, and I did keep my weekends free. I liked my schedule that way, but this particular contract threw everything off. The company landed a government building as a client. It wasn't your typical downtown office. It was out in what felt like the middle of nowhere. I won't give exact coordinates, but imagine a 6-story concrete block surrounded by a sea of asphalt parking lot. The whole place boxed in by a 10-foot-high metal fence topped with cruel loops of barbed wire. Beyond the fence, there was nothing but trees. No shops, no gas stations, no houses, not even the distant glow of a farmhouse porch light. The access road stretched about 3 miles before it met the main highway. That sense of isolation got under my skin the moment I first saw the place. At first, I stuck to my preferred shifts. But after a few months, we started bleeding staff from the overnight posts, especially on weekends. The day shifts were steady, with 3 guards at a time. But at night, during the week, it dropped to 2. And the worst shift of all weekend, overnights. There was just 1 guard. We were all armed, of course. But a gun doesn't stop you from feeling alone in a place like that. The supervisor asked me to step in for a while, to cover those lonely shifts until new hires came on board. I could have said no, and in hindsight, I wish I had. But at the time, I was saving up to move into a better apartment, so I agreed. The first couple of weekends were uneventful. Quiet. Too quiet. I thought maybe the stories about the place being creepy were just exaggerated, but on the 3rd weekend, I learned otherwise. It was a Saturday night. The clock on the wall said to AM, and the sky outside was split open by a thunderstorm. Sheets of rain slashed across the parking lot, and wind gusts hurled branches against the fence. I was in the camera control room on the top floor, where I always sat for those long, lonely nights. The room had 3 big screens, displaying the live CCTV feeds inside corridors, stairwells, lobby, parking lot, and the main gate. A wide window looked out over the rear lot, but I kept the blinds drawn most of the time. I had the lights off, a bad habit I'd picked up to make the monitors easier to see, and I was half watching an old movie on my phone while playing a game on my old Game Boy. After a while, my legs started to ache from sitting so long. I stretched, walked around the small room, rubbing at my eyes to chase off the drowsiness. I thought about grabbing an energy drink from the vending machine down the hall. On a whim, I wandered over to the window and tilted the blinds to peek out at the storm. The wind was savage, hurling leaves and bits of trash in wild spirals. I was about to let the blinds fall back into place when a flash of lightning lit up the woods beyond the fence. And in that split second of electric daylight, I saw something move. A human-shaped figure sprinted from one tree to another about 20 feet beyond the fence line. I stood frozen, peering through the gap in the blinds, waiting for another flash to confirm what I'd seen. The seconds dragged by. When the next lightning bolt lit the night, there was nothing. The trees swayed and the rain lashed down, but no more figure. I told myself it was just my tired eyes playing tricks on me. I left the window, went to the vending machine, and cracked open an energy drink. By the time I returned to the control room, I downed the whole can. I sat back at my station, only to notice something was wrong. One of the outside cameras, the one covering the rear lot just below my window, was showing static. I pulled the blinds aside again and scanned the pole where the camera was mounted. My heart sank when I saw it dangling by its cables, swinging back and forth in the wind. I chalked it up to the storm for the moment and logged the damage. I'd just started my movie again when a sharp alert tone chimed from the security system. Someone had entered a restricted door using the keypad. I checked the screen. The breach was at the back entrance by the rear parking lot. A chill crawled down my spine. First, the figure. then the disabled camera, and now this, whoever it was, had the code the system had granted access. It couldn't be another employee. We'd have gotten a memo about any after-hours visits. And no guard was supposed to be here, except me. I grabbed the desk phone to call the police. Deadline. My cell had no service either. The storm was probably messing with the signal. I stepped into the hallway, hoping to catch a bar or two of reception. I was halfway to the stairwell when the lights went out. The entire building plunged into darkness. My instinct screamed at me to leave. I headed for the stairs, planning to reach the lobby and get to my truck. The stairwell was almost pitch black, except for faint flashes of distant lightning leaking in through a narrow window high above. I moved quietly, trying not to let my boots echo. If someone had killed the power, they were probably near the basement generator, and the generator room was just off the stairwell below. I'd reached the 4th floor when the sound of a door opening below made me freeze. Heavy footsteps began to climb toward me. Slow, but deliberate. My hand found the grip of my firearm, but even as I drew it, I realized how unready I felt to use it. The steps drew closer, each one a hammer blow in the stairwell's silence. I turned and crept back up toward the 6th floor as quietly as I could. Near the top was a ladder leading to the roof hatch. I had a desperate plan. Climb the ladder and hide in the darkness just beneath the hatch. Let the intruder think I'd run into the hall. But as I turned, my holstered gun scraped the stair rail with a metallic clank. The footsteps below stopped. For a few terrible heartbeats, there was nothing. Then the sound exploded into a rapid sprint up the stairs. I bolted, my boots slamming against the metal steps as I raced upward. At the 6th floor landing, I threw open the stairwell door with a loud crash, then let it slam shut on its own. Without stopping, I dashed for the ladder and scrambled up to the space just below the hatch, praying the ruse would work. Seconds later, the intruder burst through the stairwell door below. Clearly fooled by the noise I'd made, I heard the heavy door swing closed again as he ran into the hallway. That was my moment. I dropped the 10 feet from the ladder to the floor, the impact jarring my knees but fueling my adrenaline, and I sprinted down the stairs. I could hear the intruder whirl and come after me, his boots hammering in pursuit, but I managed to stay one flight ahead. At the lobby, fortune finally intervened. I heard a crash behind me followed by a sharp cry. He had fallen on the stairs. I didn't look back. I hit the lobby door, sprinted into the rain, unlocked my truck, and dove inside as I saw a masked figure in black burst out of the building behind me. The tires shrieked as I floored it, fishtailing out of the lot and speeding down the lonely side road. By the time I reached the main highway, my phone had a signal again. I called the police, who arrived about 15 minutes later. I followed them back to the site, hands still shaking as I gave my statement. They searched the building and the surrounding woods, but found no one. The only tangible clue was a fully loaded, unregistered semi-automatic handgun lying on the stairwell where the intruder had fallen. To this day, no one knows what that man wanted or why he targeted that remote government building. I only know how close I came to not making it out that night. Music years earlier, I had worked nights as a security guard in a corporate office in New Jersey. Most nights were uneventful, the hum of air vents, the glow of monitors, the occasional cleaning crew. But one night changed all that and left me with a lingering fear of empty buildings after dark. It began a little after midnight. I was alone in the lobby, watching the feeds from the cameras, elevators, hallways, parking garage. That's when I saw him, a lone figure moving slowly between the cars in the underground lot. No one should have been down there at that hour. At first, I thought it might be a late-night employee, but he wasn't carrying a laptop bag or wearing a badge. He wore a long loose coat and moved in a strange, almost searching way. Something about the way he shifted from shadow to shadow unsettled me. I called my supervisor, who told me to stay put and watch. But something in my gut told me to check in person. I grabbed my flashlight and rode the elevator down. The doors slid open to reveal an empty, silent garage. I called out, my voice echoing back at me. I checked between the cars, shined my light into every corner. Nothing. I went back up, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. But when I looked at the monitor again, there he was, standing in the exact same spot as if he had never moved. A cold knot formed in my stomach. For 20 minutes, I watched him wander, always just out of reach of the cameras. Then, he slipped out of sight near the stairwell. I checked every other feed, elevators, hallways. Nothing. It was as if he'd vanished. I was still staring at the screens when the elevator dinged in the lobby. The doors opened to reveal an empty car. But on the shiny floor, outside the elevator, were wet footprints, bare feet. The thought that he was inside the building now, somewhere close, made my throat go dry. I debated calling for outside patrol backup, but decided to do a quick sweep first. I took the elevator to the 5th floor and crept down the hall. Flashlight beam steady but my hand shaking. Every door was locked, until I came to one that was ajar. The office beyond was empty. As I turned back into the hallway, I heard it. Footsteps, heavy, wet, coming fast behind me. I swung the light down the corridor and caught a glimpse of that long coat before I turned and ran, heart hammering, breath ragged. I bolted into the stairwell, the door slamming behind me. The footsteps stopped just on the other side. When the patrol finally arrived, and we swept the building together, the man was gone. The cameras had nothing to show. The footage from that time had been mysteriously overwritten. I quit that job a few weeks later. Even now, years later, I tense up in parking garages, listening for wet footsteps that aren't there. Music. Not long ago, during my first night of training as a mobile security guard in Mississauga, I had another encounter that I'll never forget. My supervisor was a friendly guy, walking me through the usual patrol routines. Around 1:15 a.m., we arrived at a medical clinic for a standard perimeter check. Right away, something felt wrong. The underground garage gate was open. The front door was cracked, as if forced. We stepped inside cautiously. My supervisor pointed at the elevator. The floor indicator was moving. Gay, Satu, Dua, Tiga, stopping on the 4th. That meant someone was inside. He drew his baton and told me to stay close. My stomach churned with nerves as we rode the elevator up, bracing for whatever waited when the doors opened. The 4th floor was empty and dark. We turned on the lights and searched room by room. Then we heard footsteps on the stairs below. We crept toward the stairwell door, ready to follow, but the sound stopped suddenly, replaced by silence, so complete I could hear my own pulse. My supervisor radioed dispatch in a shaky voice, requesting immediate backup, warning that someone was in the building with us, possibly armed and waiting. We stayed put, too afraid to risk going down. 15 minutes later, we heard the front door open and the rapid thud of running footsteps outside. By the time we reached the ground floor, the intruder was gone. We searched every inch of the building again, but found nothing. I still don't know whether that person had been hiding in some unseen corner or if something else entirely was going on in that building. But it was the most terrifying night of my life. And even now, the thought of going back there alone makes my chest tighten. Music.